Welcome back. You see, there is a notion that people often carry in our world today, and I've personally heard this a lot. We see this in movies, we see this in TV shows, and even in real life. The idea or the notion is this: I want someone who loves me just the way I am. I want someone who loves me just the way I am. As good as this may sound, as beautiful as this may sound, perhaps this is one of the most destructive things that can be part of any relationship. Because life, when we live, it's all about the changes that we make. It's all about adapting and making changes and growing in our character, in our habit, and even in our spiritual life. We are not hesitant to make changes when it comes to our career. We are not hesitant to make changes when it comes to our education. Even, let's say, that our job demands us, that our boss wants us to wake up at 5:30 in the morning and be at office by 6:10 to start the day of work. We wouldn't be hesitant to do that. Even if we are someone who hasn't woken up at 5:30 in our entire life, we would still make the change just so that we can have that job. So when a job demands change in us, we do it. When our education demands a change in us, we do it. We are free to make those changes, but when it comes to marriage, we are always hesitant to make that change. We are always, very reluctant to make the change because we want someone who loves us just the way we are. We do not want to change. And sometimes people go to extremes thinking that they will, prefer to be single than get married and make all these changes in their lifestyle. If you think about that statement, it's a very selfish, self-centered, and a narcissistic statement because marriage isn't about fulfilling your desires and your passions and your goals and your ambition, but also it's about helping the other person fulfill their goals, ambitions, and helping them and pleasing them in every way. It's not just about you. But when we think about, I want someone who loves me just the way I am, it is a statement where you're saying that I just want to be served. I just want to be, served well by the one whom I'm marrying. One of my teachers who taught me on marriage, he told me like this. He taught us like this saying, marriage is a place where there are two masters and two slaves. If the husband is a master, the wife is also a master. If the wife is a master, husband is also a master. If the wife is a slave, the husband is also a slave. See, when we follow such ideas, sometimes, I believe that we know how to, be in a relationship based on what Hollywood says. We know Hollywood's principles on love. We know Bollywood's principles on love. We know the world's principle on how to fall in love rather than what the Bible says. And that is why sometimes we struggle with finding the right one because we want someone who will love just the way we are. We are not perfect people. Everyone has some quirks in them, some things that need to be changed. Let me tell you, even today, no matter how much my wife loves me, there are some things I do she absolutely hates. And one of those things are that, when I start working, I work excessively. I just keep on working. So though I'm in the same house right now, though I'm in the same house in one of the rooms, she still feels like I'm far away, that I'm not active, that I'm not there. Because I don't totally get absorbed into the work. And instead of, demanding that she follows my way of working, I rather have to make a change, adjust, make changes in the way I work so that she can be happy as well. Because marriage is not about me. And I can honestly tell you I'm still working. I struggle with that even today, even till this very moment. But I'm making changes. I'm working hard towards it, changing myself so that she can be happy with me. When we think of these statements, I want someone to love me just the way I am, what it'll lead us to is a point where we will struggle to find someone for marriage. We will struggle to find the right person for marriage. I'm not saying this as a negative thing, but I've seen this happen. I've seen this happen, and there are people that I know even today who are still struggling to find the right one. And there are even some who have given up on marriage because they're not finding the one that they need. In other words, they're not finding the person who can love them just the way they are. We are not Jesus. We are not God. We are not perfect in every way. God is perfect. We are not. As human beings, if we have to be successful, we have to make changes. And we're not hesitant to make changes in our education, in our job. We're not hesitant to make all that changes. But when it comes to marriage, no, I want someone to love me just the way I am. When we put all that aside and start to make changes in our personal life, I can honestly assure you this, that you will have a very long-lasting, fulfilling marriage. When you learn to change yourself, when you learn to adapt, when you learn to, learn new habits. For example, before marriage, I had to take dance classes, and I did go. It was, such a struggle for me. Sometimes I believe that I have a disability when it comes to dancing. I can't dance. Even if you probably break my leg, I still cannot. I don't know why, but just to keep my wife happy, just to be part of the marriage ceremony, because I come from a Tamil culture where there is no dancing, but my wife comes from a Goan culture where there is a lot of dance. It's very it's a different kind of way, a different way they do things in their culture. And for me, when I'm entering into that culture, I cannot be like I don't want to do all this, but rather I have to learn to adapt. Even today, I struggle to dance. I prefer to avoid it, but if it really demands, I go and do it. We have to make changes because we have to please the other person. We have to keep them happy, because it is not about us. It's not about my preferences. It's also about their preference. And as God's children, we have to put them first. I have to put my wife first, and she has to put me first. And in both of us, in that way, we serve each other better, and we can have a fulfilling marriage. But when we do not want to change, it will always be a challenge for us. It will always be like a fight that will keep happening, because we want to be served. When we get off that mentality, when we start to make changes in our life, we will have successful relationships. So when it comes to pursuit in marriage, when it comes to pursuing the right one in marriage, there are changes that we have to make in our life. We as people, like I said before, we are not perfect. There are changes that we have to constantly keep making to find the right one. This may seem offensive to some of you. You may think, oh, that's not true. I don't agree with him. You are free to disagree. You can disagree as much as you want. But this is what I've seen, and this is what I've experienced. And this is also what the Bible says. If you look at Proverbs chapter 31, verse 10, it says like this: an excellent wife who can find? She is far more precious than jewels. If you look at jewels here, jewels or ornaments was one of the ways in which a person would accumulate wealth. By working hard, they would accumulate jewels and ornaments. They're one of those ways of accumulating wealth. So if you take that same verse and apply it in our context today, just like Gary Thomas said, a good woman is worth more than your job, worth more than what you can accumulate, worth more than your education, your business. You see, in our world today, the order is flipped. People think I have to, be successful first. I have to build wealth for myself and then find the right woman. We flip the order. But what the Bible says is that it's far more important than your job, your business, and career, or anything that you can do in life. When we put job first, when we put business first, when we put career first, what will happen is it will always be a struggle for us to find the right one. The best way to do it, the biblical way to do it, is to find the right person. Invest all your energies in finding the right person, and then build your life. Build it together, because when you do that together, you will have a very long-lasting and a successful marriage. We have to invest all our energies on finding the right partner, on building life together with your spouse, and then we will have a very successful marriage.